Hello, LifeSite friends. Jim Hale with you here today, and I want to talk about the unfolding tragedy going on in Afghanistan. This is a situation, as you well know, unlike anything that our country has ever faced. And the sad fact is that thousands of Americans, thousands of Afghani Christians, thousands of Afghanis who helped the United States in the last 20 years in our mission there are all facing an unspeakable tragedy right now, and that they don't know if they're going to be able to leave the country. And once this deadline ends here, just in the next couple of days, they could very well be hunted down and killed by the Taliban or ISIS. There's a man right now in Dallas, Texas that's trying to help him. You know about Jason Jones, one of the great pro-life fighters in the world today. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. We have a life funder that we have started here at LifeSite. So far, we've raised $50,000 to try to assist these desperate men and women and children who are trying to escape. Jason, can you just bring us up to date on the latest information that you have?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you very much and thank LifeSite News for coming to me. You guys came to me and said, we see what you're doing, we want to help, and it's been a tremendous help. Just because of the past 2 days, how much money we raised, we were able to hire a former intelligence officer with a lot of experience in the country who speaks Pashto and Dari. We were able to hire interpreters to work with us and our people, and now I had been staying up 22 hours a day since August 13th, afraid to go to sleep because I would miss something on my messenger or an email. But now we're looking for folks that speak Dari and Pashto to help us have a 24-hour around-the-clock ability to work and serve with these people. Today, what we've been doing is two things. It's been a beautiful day and a tragic day. People who our work has been able to get out of the country are sending us pictures after they land or pictures in planes. But then folks who are not able to get out of the country, we were not able to evacuate, are calling us panicked. And so I've spent the last 24 hours trying to give people hope. And I do want to say that once we get past this deadline, our organization has a very thoughtful, well thought out strategy on how to evacuate people after the deadline. So, after today and tomorrow, it is not over. We are really committed to these folks. Many are in safe houses. And so we're going to be with them all the way until they get home, until they get to their new homes and they're safe.
Jason, what is the threat that they face right now, and then after the deadline, how much more dangerous will it be for them?
It's hard to know. I think that the next 2 days are probably, we'll get a lot of clarity. And I will say that yesterday and tomorrow are probably, for me, they're quite frightening. We've had people we're supporting that are sending us texts. In fact, I shared with one of your reporters a text that they received saying, we're going to commit genocide against your ethnicity, against your tribe, against your people. I had a 22-year-old journalist. I know there might be children watching. I don't know how to say this. Female 22-year-old journalist who received a threat from, I'm sorry.
I know, brother.
They're going to rape her to death and then continue to rape her. I have someone who I have a personal connection to who's being hunted right now. Him and his family are being hunted. The one thing that's been striking for me, and I guess it's because of the nature of my work, I shouldn't be surprised, but how many people we put on the evacuation list that are loved by people I love. In fact, the very first call that I received was from the co-founder of my organization, Movie to Movement, whose mother-in-law was being hunted. A 60-year-old woman is being hunted by the Taliban. So to think that just my friend and partner who I've worked with on so many films and for so long, that one of her best friend's mother is being hunted. And I received from a friend of mine, her nephew called me, and by God's grace, a Marine officer said, help us get our interpreter out. He was able to get out. So we're having these beautiful stories, and then we're dealing with, people who are afraid. And so yesterday and today, we've been trying to comfort people and manage their expectations. The whole time, it's been just the great struggle of trying to give people hope who are dropping into despair, but not give them a false hope that they miss an opportunity they don't seize an opportunity for their own safety because they're clinging on to something that they think we presented. And so I'm always telling them, your job is to find as many doors out as possible and run through the first one that opens. We're just one door.
Right. So, Jason, we know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, Americans that are still there. Who are these Americans, by the way? These are non-military Americans. What have they been doing in the country?
I don't know too much about a lot of the Americans. We have dealt with Americans. They're Americans and they're Afghan. And we have been helping some of those. Most of who we've been working with are journalists, human rights activists, Christians, interpreters, folks like that. We did have one of the hardest, one of the families that's been closest to my heart. We have over 600 people on our manifest, but for some reason, you just kind of get close to them because either their advocate they've done a good job of endearing themselves to me and thinking about their people, or because something about them has really connected me. This one family of an interpreter he's actually an American permanent resident. He was an interpreter. He's Afghan. Him and his wife and their son and they have an infant, a young son and an infant. Their week has just been unbelievable. They got out of Abbey Gate just in time. I made a video for you guys. It was so bad. I was so tired. I didn't even want to redo it. I just said, put it up as it is, guys. I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally, I've never been this. I was in Sudan during the dark days. I was in Iraq with ISIS, directing a documentary for policymakers. Being there, it's not as hard as sitting here in my home office, listening to my children outside the door. I had my daughter's birthday party yesterday. I'm at her birthday party at a pool on my computer, trying to get people to the South Gate so that they can get on a plane. It's really strange. It's been very hard. But most of the people I've been dealing with are, I didn't want to say this, that couple, that family, they're still there. They were almost on the plane, and then they got through the gate. You can't imagine how excited we were. They were waiting to get on a plane, and then there were threats of mortars. They cleared everyone from the airport, said, come back tomorrow. That was on a Friday. I knew that there would be no tomorrow for them. And I knew that for that family, we had to have a long game plan. We have a long game plan. And we'll talk about it afterwards. We're not going to I'm not going to say here what we're doing. But like I would say, we're hiring the best. The people that this is what they do. We're a human rights organization, but we're partnering with people that this is what they do. The Vulnerable People Project, which is a program of HERO, a sister program of Movie to Movement. Our job is to advocate for the vulnerable, from the child in the womb to the child in Darfur. We work with the Yazidis in Iraq and the Chaldeans and Assyrians and the Uyghur. But right now, this Afghan task force, thanks to you, really, half the money we've raised, it came in 2 days, thanks to you. We had no budget. We just went running ahead. And but now we're really moving, and we're going to have the ability now to build out this program and path to safety.
Well, Jason, I want to just thank you for telling our viewers what that money is going to be used for, and also the fact that you are making a commitment to continue this operation even after this deadline that the President of the United States has just assured his Taliban friends that he's going to abide by. And without getting too political, because I know that you're focused on getting people out, Christians, non-Christians, and I think it is worth mentioning, Jason, that these special refugees, these are people who put their lives on the line to help the Americans throughout all these years. And I just want to say, friends, we have got to help these people. They are our dear friends, some of the most courageous, mostly young men who are out there doing this. But Jason, how utterly disgraceful is this situation that we're in right now?
Well, it's as disgraceful as the genocide that erupted in Iraq. And I went there. And I want to say this, first of all, there's a lot of women and children getting on planes. I shared them with a LifeSite journalist. I asked them to delete the photos immediately. A lot of people say, how come we're not seeing any children or women? Well, of course, they're not posting photos of children, and often they're with women. So you're seeing a lot of photos of men. There are planes full of children leaving. I want people to be assured of that. I sent your journalist a photo. He promised to delete it. I just want people to understand that. But it is quite disgraceful. And people ask me, I founded the Vulnerable People Project in 2002. I was very vocal that if we invaded Iraq, it would lead to ethnic cleansing of the Chaldeans and Assyrian community. And I knew that. And that's when I launched Hero. I launched it then because I knew, you can read my book, The Race to Save Our Century, read my articles from that time. I was laying out the genocides that were going to happen in Iraq that were totally unnecessary. What happened with ISIS was totally unnecessary. And again, here in Afghanistan. So I believe, as a citizen of a constitutional republic, a representative democracy, that I have to exert influence for the vulnerable. And I did not support a regime change war in Iraq. And I did not support nation building in Afghanistan. I supported going after the bad guys and coming home. But the problem is the neoconservatives and neoliberals held hands, skipped into that country, throwing promises around like Mardi Gras beads, and now they skipped out. Well, we as a people made promises I would have never supported making, but we made them. And we have a commitment. I'm a Catholic. I converted to Catholicism I was baptized and confirmed on August 6th, 2003. But when I was a young atheist, and I was kind of an adamant young atheist, the first verse in the Bible that caught my attention, and it's a mystery, but the first verse that really caught my attention was, remember your friends and the friends of your father. And that just struck me as so profound. Remember your friends. That is what nobility is. We are behaving as a people ignobly. Our government is. I will say the American people, they're behaving, they've erupted with passion and confusion. How could we do this to people who fought alongside our men? Jim, my phone, I've never had this. My fingers don't stop shaking for the past couple of days because my phone is ringing every 10 minutes. I'm getting a text or an email. Most of them are from former military saying, get out my interpreter and his family. Please help. This man saved my life. This man and I were shoulder to shoulder for months and months and months. He's my brother. This is who the American people are. When I was in Iraq, during ISIS's ravaging of Iraq, I spoke at a human rights conference. I was the only Western, non-Iraqi allowed to speak. And I spoke and I said, I want to apologize for my country's behavior. And this imam got up and lectured me. He said, don't you ever apologize for the American people. We know what you don't know, that the American people are beautiful and you are not accountable for what your government does. So they were able to separate the American people from our government. But I want to say this, we are a representative democracy. We can exert influence. And on that note, I would want to also say, I want everyone to support us. Please, LifeSite is, you guys coming to us, you pushed us forward. You pushed us forward a month in our ability to organize, mobilize, and bring on the right people. So please go and donate. But also, we need to pressure our members of Congress that there needs to be safe zones in Kabul and also for ethnic minorities, that the Taliban is promising genocide. We saw the Yazidis almost wiped off the face of the earth. I was there. I filmed it. I witnessed it. Our Chaldeans, I saw first century Christian churches laid in rubble, churches that were St. Thomas himself created those communities. Okay, now this is going to happen in Afghanistan. And again, it's because of neoconservatives and neoliberals skipped in. Planned Parenthood was the first NGO in Afghanistan. Hillary Clinton herself brought them there. And they're flying the rainbow flag last month. You may have seen the photo, or in June, you may have seen the photo of women and children shoved up against a wall with posters from the UN, climate equality, no poverty, all these platitudes. But what is great about, I'm a Catholic, and what is great about Catholic social teaching, when rightly applied, first and foremost, it recognizes the incomparable dignity of the human person. And then it compels us to kiss the leper, to stand with the woman who's being stoned, to run to the vulnerable. And then our social teaching, when it's not perverted by modern ideology, is this beautiful architecture of preference for the vulnerable, not a preferential option for the poor, which is a Marxist perversion. It's a preferential option for the vulnerable that unites people across the wealthy, the poor, all middle, we're all together in serving the vulnerable. And that's what it is for me. The Pietà, it's my scapulars of the Pietà. And what I love about the Pietà is you have a creature, Mary, right? As Fulton Sheen said, thought of from all eternity by the Trinity, created a beautiful creature with the second person, Jesus Christ, there. When we serve the vulnerable, we're serving people so many times more noble than us, kinder than us. They're strong people, brave people, noble people, placed in impossible circumstances. Imagine if your family was placed in the circumstances. You know, I have a friend right now, personal relationship, hiding in Afghanistan. And, you know, we're doing a lot for him. He said, brother, I can't ever repay you. I'm like, no, you would do this for me. He would do this for me. Well, of course, I'm doing this for him. And that's what it is to me as a Christian. Really living out our Christian faith is, you can't even stop it. You're compelled to stand with the most vulnerable. You cannot watch a woman be stoned without going to stand next to her. You cannot. You cannot see a leper alone, out there alone, and not go stand with them. You cannot look at what's happening in Afghanistan to people who we have put in this precarious situation and turn the channel and watch Seinfeld. You cannot. But most of us, what are we going to do? I promise you, when you support the Vulnerable People Project today, you are standing with these people tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And when you pray for them, and I tell them, I say, we're praying for you, pray for us. Pray that we're effective in serving you. Pray that our words open people's hearts. And as you hear, Christians have been turned away from the gates. Christians like Glenn Becker sending planes that are turned around. I've had Christian friends sent emails from the State Department to go to the gate. One family, a pastor, an evangelical pastor, Protestant pastor, went to the gate with his family, was waiting to be processed. His son was shot in the stomach, and they had to race to the hospital. And now, of course, they're despairing. They've lost hope, but I have not lost hope. And we're committed to them till the very end. We're committed to them until they're safe.
Amen, Brother Jason. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us and just saying all these things. I pray that the disease of neoconservatism and our addiction to nation building, and it doesn't matter. I mean, the Republicans do this, the Democrats do this. I hope we have finally learned our lesson to stop intervening all over the world. It just does not work, and not only does it not work, it makes things worse. And just look at what's happened to the Christian population of the Middle East. And like you said, those wonderful Yazidi people, some of I don't know, I saw a documentary on them one time, and I just admired them so much. And listen, brother, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, folks. Please go on to our Life Funder. We're going to put this address on there. Just click on there, and you can easily make a donation to help Jason and all the good people who are helping him out. Jason, we will lift you up in our prayers. Just know that. Keep going, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. And I know that our LifeSite family is going to come through for you big time.
You know, the LifeSite family has always been there from all my work, from my movies like Bella and Crescendo, and when my work in Iraq during the genocide. You've always been there for me, and I don't even have to ask. You guys just show up and say, "Hey, we're here to help." So thank you.
Yeah. All right, Jason, we got you covered, brother. Thank you so much for taking your time out. I'll let you go back to your work of trying to help these poor, desperate people.
Yeah, we have a flight that we're told that's landing in 3 hours. We're trying to get people on with 110 seats. Thank you very much. God bless.
Amen. Thank you, Jason.